We're ready in the back? Okay. Let's call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, to our County Council budget meeting. Welcome all those in attendance. Any items for public input? Anyone? Nobody there? Okay. Thank you. So you've all, council, you have the agenda in front of you. Any additions to the agenda? If not, I would accept a motion to accept the agenda. Dale? All those in favor? Carried. So next we're ready for the budget. Carla, you're on. Item 5.
Good morning, County Council and Administration and public members. We're here to present the proposed 2026 version 3 budget. I do want to make a notation. There was a recent another budget added to this agenda item just recently, version 4. When we first started the budget way back in November, we were over about $1.1 million deficit. We worked hard to get it down to about 557,000. And on version 3, we brought it down to 262,000. And now on version 4, we're down to 114. So the versions of this budget does not include any changes in assessment at all, or any changes in tax rates. So just so you know, we're going to go through that as a separate document today, just to see how that's going to look. But for right now, we want to talk about the public package on version 3. It kind of breaks out a little bit of details about the departments and everything, and so council has an opportunity to ask questions and so forth. Terry's also going to have a little bit of discussion to start off with in regards to the capital budget, just what was decided upon at the last budget meeting. There was some removal of some capital items off of there, so we just want to do a bit of a review on that so council is aware what has been removed. And there was I think one thing that was amended, a price was amended on it, so for a truck. So I'm going to pass it on to Terry.
Thank you, Carla. So we can quickly go over if there any question regarding to the capital budget carry forwards. So that would be page 5. Yeah, perfect. I just scroll a little bit down. Thank you. So there's no change related to capital budget carry forward, so it still remains the same as a 4.72 million for the 2026 budget that is going to be carrying forward.
I got a question. What's the engineered structures going forward?
So yeah, we can flip to the next page. We'll have more detail related to the engineered structure, and I will have Brian to explain more detail related to those projects. Yeah, page 6. Yeah, the engineered structure. And now, yeah, I'll have Brian to explain that a little bit more detail.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just wanted to say that General Manager of Operations is in the building, but he's on a land use tribunal call. So he will be here to answer the questions, but maybe not for another half an hour or so.
Thank you.
Do you want to defer till Greg can speak of the engineering structures a little bit? I can talk about a high level, but if there's any detailed questions, I probably won't be able to answer them.
So just a question on that. So these are all carry forward things where budgets have been put together for the bridges, for the engineered structures, and for the vehicles. And then the question is whether we carry that forward or not.
Yeah, it was approved in the 2025 budget, and
Yeah.
these are ones that didn't quite get completed by the end of year of 2025. So they're carried forward. Council obviously has that discretion to determine and save council projects. A lot of them are definitely in progress, and
Thank you. Through the chair, just at the end of yesterday's meeting, we did give an overview of all of those carry forward projects, and I'll send it out to council. The GM of infrastructure, the GM of operations, and then the fire was tied up in the fire truck. So I have some background on that for you. I'll forward it to you right now. Thank.
So we haven't had a chance to go through this as a council to review it and see which projects will be carried forward. So when do we propose we do this?
you can probably look at some of that today, for sure. That's council discretion if you want to go
Is that
through and
what we wanna
council any
do, council?
projects.
Hey, Bo,
Well,
a bunch of the engineered structures are already started, right? They're already in progress or already finished. Just need final review on them.
well, yeah, it depends which ones. I mean, if you go in the engineered structures, two of them are only at 16 and 13%. The others are at 67 and 82. So those probably need to be completed. The question is on the others, is that only engineering, so you don't lose that engineering?
Yeah, the Range Road 15 to 20, that's engineering cost for sure. But that 540 road's done, just has to be final approval, and the Spruce Lane subdivision's already paved, just needs final look at, 'cause there's some cracks in it apparently.
My concern,
Nope.
oh, sorry. My concerns are basically about projects that we've started, spent engineering costs on. For example, like we learned yesterday, we got 3 different roads that we have in our back pocket, I guess. We've started the engineering on them and they haven't been on our 10-year plan. So I'd like to make sure that we review all these projects first before we go and say, okay, that's what we're carrying forward.
Okay, Carla?
Yeah, I just want to make mention that Project Range Road 33 and Township 540 from 15 to 20, those budget costs are just engineering. There's nothing about construction in that. That was the planning to whether we wanted to proceed. So we got the engineering in there because that does become a part of the capital cost if council determined that they want to go forward with it. And if they want to go forward with it, those costs would be a lot more dollars than this. So we could have, if council determined that they're not interested in these roads at all, we could discuss canceling the projects and just what engineering has been spent on it to date, it's been spent.
Go ahead, Dale.
So I have a question with, like, for the bridge collapse, we're estimating in the budget 1.796 million, right? Is there somewhere farther in the budget, I looked and I couldn't find it, where if there was an insurance payment that got paid back?
That bridge is currently in litigation, so it's not in there. It's just held in there right now until we can determine what to do. And Brian can definitely speak to more details of that.
So I guess then to further that, I'm wondering, that's coming and that's going in where we're putting money aside for that, right? So we're preparing one side, but we're not looking at the other side. Like if we get a payout of 1.2, let's say, so I'm wondering if this is the right spot for that particular item.
It would be still considered a capital project replacement, so it has to be in the capital budget.
Okay. So we can't, it's considered a capital project. It's part of the budget, and we don't know if we're getting funded for it. So what we're saying is by approving this, we're gonna pay for it. Is that correct? So that was my point. So I don't know how, it's an odd situation for sure. So I need a little bit of help in making my decision whether to say yay or nay or whatever on that.
Through the chair, I would say that we're not proceeding unless we get a significant amount of the money from the lawsuit. And so at this time, nothing's approved in terms of actually designing, engineering it. Once the courts have settled out, we'll come to you as council with a separate agenda item, and you'll have the ability to review the money we're getting, decide whether not to put the bridge in at all and take the money, to build a brand-new structure that's a percentage of what it was before, or a beautiful new bridge that costs even more than we get. You'll have all that latitude as council.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
I think, and I'm not an accountant, but in my experience in budgeting, it is a challenge, always this, you're not allowed to put an income in that you don't know, but you do have to put the expense in. So I've seen that in other, it's a chicken and the egg kind of thing. So your question, I think, was a really good one, Dale, but the reality is we're not allowed to put in the income until we know what it is.
And I think my point was just to make sure that
Yeah.
I have an explanation, and if I've got an explanation now when somebody asks me, so thank you.
Okay, Carla.
Okay, thank you. So if there's any other question, we can move forward to the 2026 capital project requests.
Just one question there, Terry. Yesterday we discussed about the fire trucks. Would that be something we discuss now, or like our plan moving forward with them?
Yeah, yes, we can discuss a little bit about it and just to see where we're at. So the number is still the same as previous budget meeting. Also, Randy presented yesterday as well.
Okay, correct. But I don't think we can make a decision today on the fire trucks, can we? We can? Okay, all right. So as a council, we have to decide one of the three options we kind of discussed yesterday, whether that's buy the used fire truck, buy the type 1.3, or buy the brand new one, the type 1, sorry. Right? And then I don't know how to do that as a council. We have to make that decision. And then that would reflect into this budget right now.
Make a motion for direction.
Thank you through the chair. And as the chief said yesterday, I think specific trucks may come and go, but I think the best way to do it is for council to give a ceiling. Is it used? Is it new? Put those parameters on, and then we give that direction to us, and then we can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that is a sensible way to go. We put a dollar value on, and that they have a budget for it.
Yesterday, we had the opportunity to view the different strategies of. Yesterday, we had the opportunity of the different strategies up on the screen there of how we could move units around to eliminate units or to purchase different kinds of units for different purposes. Now, Ed has come up with a couple of good ideas of how we could possibly do that, and that's something that we should probably listen to.
Dale?
And in support of what Ed is talking about, the chief did give possibilities of different kinds of trucks in his presentation, asking for direction, and I believe council has come up with a direction based on those units, based on what he has actually said. May not be the order, but we have a decision.
I think for this year's budget, we would approve the 740,000 for the Type 3 engine. That would solve a lot of our problems right now, currently. The wait time for these units are fairly short, within 12 to 15 weeks. And then he can juggle the trucks around accordingly to his operational plan. to make everything else work. And then that would alleviate this 911,000 for the type 1.
So, just so I'm clear what you're suggesting here, is that the carry forward of the 740 you want to leave? You want to remove the 911? And replace it with a dollar value or not?
No, just remove
So
it
nothing at
completely.
all.
No, we just remove it. He could take his type 3, replace that into station 4, right? Bring that engine out of station 4 over to East Station where that dire need is, and then give us time to work on next year's budget for our next direction.
Okay, and the 120,000?
That's already done.
That truck's already in
That's
progress.
already here.
Oh, it's in progress. Okay.
It's got, yeah, it's in.
Oh, yeah, it's 70%
70%
done.
done.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and that's just the carry forward. So you want to remove the 911 carry forward. You want to leave the 740. Okay.
Correct.
But isn't the 911, it's 95% completed?
No, he put a deposit down, remember? It hasn't been started yet. There might be a little bit of loss on the deposit from what I was understanding when he talked to us prior. But yeah, I agree with Ed. Remove the 911. That type 1 we don't need because we're going to do a hybrid 1/3 truck, I believe they call it. And that'll eventually start moving into all the stations.
Okay, Carla?
Yeah, in regards to type 1, there will be some penalty involved with it because they had started a bit of it. So I think, I can't remember exactly what it was. We had presented that to council before. We can bring that number up. I'll actually look for it today and give that number back to you, what that will be. Okay? So we'll
Okay,
cancel,
Yeah. Well, is it that 47,000?
no, the $863,000, it was, you paid, we still have the check at the office here, it hasn't gone out. But we're starting it already, so as it's been waiting, there was a little bit of penalty from
Yeah.
the company on the chassis to get that done. So council, and Randy had those numbers, and I'll look back to find those numbers for council, but there'll be a bit of penalty involved with that. But we can obviously not send the check for 863,000, we'll cancel that off of there, but there'll be a little bit from there.
Okay, thank you. Ann?
Thank you through the chair, and to Ed's point and council's for their thoughts, is while we're doing a service delivery review of all the services provided, I think fire should be involved in that too. Because some of the conversations both Trista and I had with the chief are that this council has not had an opportunity to put your vision into fire delivery service. So one of the things that we should be looking at is overall, how are we providing that service? So to Ed's point, I think this is a good solution so that we're okay for now, and then moving forward, then we can figure out where we want to take the county.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a good vision. Now, I know that's later, but this is carry forward, and there's an ask for more later on in the budget, right? And so they sort of flow one beside the other. So then when we talk about that, we'll have to put a number on that, as Ann suggested probably. We'll put a number on it of what's there, and management can look at how they spend that.
Yes, exactly. And that's part of his plan that he presented yesterday. You weren't here for, and he's got all these years ahead. This will fix the situation we have right now in East Station with the one truck being out of service. This will fix it, and this is the type 1's 2 years or 3 years away from being built and in service, whereas this is, what he said, 12 or 15 weeks or whatever it was, right? And the truck will be here in service, ready to go. So this is,
Yeah.
like I said, this will fix the problems today and this year, or for this year's budget, and then we can figure out next year's.
Okay,
going forward.
good. Thank you. Dale?
And it'll give us time to go through the process that you're talking about as well, Ann.
Okay, thank you. I think that gives you some clarity. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So we'll continue flipping the page to page 8, the 2026 capital project request. So there were some changes since the last meeting, February 11th. So after talking to the chief and then with senior leadership, we delayed the 2026 that was presented for the fire trucks to delay till further to 2027. So that has been removed from the 2026 capital budget.
Removed, just the fire, the 967?
So we removed the fire engine type 1 engine for Station 6, Mayerthorpe, for that 911, that is deferred. It's not on the 2026 capital budget request. Yeah.
It's the Marathorpe fire truck, the combination of purchase together, is what we were told. Am I correct?
So under the remove there, that number 3, fire engine type 1, station 6, the $911,000, that will be removed. So there'll be remaining for fire service up top there, about $56,000.
Okay, and what's that for? What's that? Flip the page?
Stop.
Oh, the scrubbers or the hydraulic ram stays.
No, but it looks like they're still gonna put in, it looks like their previous budget might have been 1.8 million with the 911. Now they've took it down to 9.6 with the command vehicle, another type 3 engine for Rich Valley, and the scrubbers, and then the hydraulic ram.
I don't know, I'm,
Another truck, even though we just made a motion.
yeah. So that's why I'm a little confused here.
Yeah, I'm confused too, because you showed us the page with the 911,000, then you roll down and say it's been gone already, and then you bring up another page showing another truck involved. So
Sorry,
why didn't we
Barry.
even talk about the first page if we already dealt with the other one?
No, sorry, you're confusing trucks together there. So the one we were talking to prior, we got rid of the type 1 engine for East Station. This is a whole different truck. This is another truck that they want for a type 1 for Station 6. And he said yesterday this would be possibly 50-50 with the town of Marathorpe?
Yes.
But this is coming into 2026 budgets, right? Into this year's. The previous engine we were discussing is 2025 carryover. This is not
This-
carryover. This is 2026 projects, yeah.
Yeah, that,
When is that joint fire truck supposed to be with Marathon? Was that for 2027? It's supposed to be, that's when it's scheduled for? If I remember seeing it somewhere else?
Yes, that's the plan. So we're gonna discuss it with the Marathon to come up with in line with the budget. So both party will be agreeing, and so we have a concrete budget, and then present it to council afterwards.
But when was that fire truck scheduled to be going in there? 2027 or 2028?
yeah, I believe, I was listening to that part yesterday, and I'm pretty sure he said 27. Oh, go ahead, Krista.
Yes, it was scheduled, well, it was proposed for 2026. It's now been delayed into 2027. The town of Marathorpe's 50%, I believe, on their capital plan was repayment back to the county in 28. Because of the lead time for the actual build.
If we go with the type 1-3 that Randy was talking about, that's a 15, 16 week project to build. So now can we not push this to 2027 when it's due and get our ducks in a row for 2027 for this truck?
So the other idea that we discussed yesterday could be possibly take engine 1, the one that's out of service, that Jurgen wouldn't know, but it's out of service, and let's get that refurbished or fixed, like a new cab chassis, get the whatever done, the upgrades that they want, the inverter, the ladders, all that stuff. Get that done, and then engine 1 can replace engine 6. Right? But that would be a whole county thing, not a joint venture either. So that's something chief would have to discuss and administration would have to discuss with the town. Or then we refurb it, and then this is a whole separate project, 50/50 project.
Ann?
Thank you. Through the chair, just to let everybody know too, our ICFs are coming up and we have to have negotiations with all of our urbans and rurals and whatnot. And there's a report coming for the March 12th meeting of council, but fire and fire service delivery certainly falls under the ICF with the town of Marathorpe. So that should be something that we're discussing through that negotiation process.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
so just to follow up on what we were discussing before then, if we put a number on this fire services, what is 967 right now, and we come up with a number, you're saying refurbish the one truck to help on that side, and maybe look at this 1-3 truck. What's the money for that? Or is that too much for
The
this
1.3's, it's right there, 740, 3/4 of a mil.
But that's a type 3, not a 1-3.
It's a 1.3. same
It's a
price.
Oh,
hybrid.
that is a
That's the
hybrid.
hybrid.
That one's a hybrid?
Yeah.
Fire engine type 3?
Randy wants to
okay.
do hybrids all throughout the county eventually.
Yeah, so is what you're suggesting is that we put the 740 in plus the refurbishing of the type 1 truck?
No, well, we could.
Well, I'm
It's
just
not
asking
in
the
this
question
budget,
what
but-
you're suggesting, because I don't know what you're suggesting.
So either we refurbish the type 1, the one out of engine 1 out of East Station, refurbish that and put it back into service, back into our fleet, wherever he wants. That would alleviate, he put 600, I think, is what he got a quote in the States. But we'd have to research that more, or they would have to research that more. Either they put these engines back into service, refurbish them back into our fleet, or we start switching out. And that's what we have to decide as a council.
Okay, so it's. Again, just to clarify, so you're saying an either or,
Yep.
not both?
Not both. So right
Okay.
now, this fire engine type 3 in the 26 budget is a brand new unit to Station 3, replacing engine 3. So what are we gonna do with the old engine 3? Are we going to refurbish it, just like we're gonna do with the engine 1? Are we gonna refurbish that stuff and put them back into service, or are we switching the whole fleet over to these new type 1.3s?
I think we'd have to look at the cost at refurbishing to new. I mean, if the hybrid one takes, if it's 740,000, but it takes 600,000 or 650 to refurbish a type 1, are we better off to just swap them out and move on from them? Because then they're all uniform throughout fire stations. It's less training, it's more uniform. There's a lot to look at there.
Yeah, like that's something we could push off till next year's budget, the refurbishing stuff, get through this year, figure it out in 2027, right?
Yeah, I agree with Ed. Just
Yeah.
push it, because we don't need that Marathorpe truck till 2027 regardless. And it gives us an option to price out refurbishing a truck versus a new one, right?
No, I'm totally fine. I just want the discussion and clarity. I'm looking for clarity. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
And I don't think we have an actual signed agreement yet with Marathorpe, so we might be preceding this whole 9 yards anyway, with respect to that truck. The other one I have a question about is the upgrade for the command vehicle. I was gonna ask that question yesterday to Randy.
Well, I think he answered that the meeting prior, and I don't know, just my point of view is, I think that's one we can push out, and if we're working on reducing our budget, that is one spot. It's not that thing's gonna sit at the side of the road tomorrow, so I would think, if council agrees, that is one we should defer. Is that, do you guys agree with that?
I agree with you, Jurgen. His half ton, it's all rigged up already. It's working fine. He's had no major issues with it. I say we roll for another year at least. I don't know how the rest of you feel.
Okay, so I think you can remove that one, that 120,000 off. So, and how about the scrubbers and the hydraulic ram? They stay?
They need those.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's fine. And so do you want to leave that number of 740 in there? Is that the right number?
Which direction do we want to go? That's where the question lies, is where do we
Well-
want to go? I would say probably remove it until we get some pricing on refurbishing. And then we have to decide whether we're going to refurbish for, if it's 600 or buy new for 740.
I think what we need to do is put a budget number in there and with direction that management has to come up with what it is. We'd have to approve it anyways, so they have to do the work though. That's not our job. Okay?
I think you have to leave it in there.
Yeah, so do you want to leave the number as 740? Yes. Yes? Oh, Dale?
So this is just, we have a few more meetings here. And I believe that if the chief hears the direction that we're going, he may be able to come back to us and say, okay, I've figured it out and we're going to readjust this. This isn't the final day for the budget. So, I mean, he's hearing now what we're asking. He may come back and say, I need 725,000, right? Then we have a better picture of what we have to do.
Trista?
As you're aware, Chief Schroeder is away today, but Deputy Chief is here, so I did ask him to pop in so you can ask your questions to him and he may be able to answer them directly.
I do think though, it really doesn't matter. If we come up with a number, we put the onus on them to figure that out. Ultimately, when they come back to us later, then we have the authority to change it. But we need a number in the budget that they can work with. Barry?
Yeah, no, I do agree. We can leave that 740 in there, but keep in mind, Randy also was looking at a used option too. That's only 10 years old, still certified, good for another 15 years. It might be cheaper than refurbishing as well.
Is that all right then? So we'll leave the 740, actually on those asks, then we'll remove the 120 and leave the rest as is. Only that the understanding is that they come back with whatever the best solution is. It doesn't have to be the Type 3 fire truck. Okay? All right, good, thank you. Oh, Ann?
Sorry, through the chair, if any specific questions about other fire things, we do have the deputy here.
Anyone have direct questions, or I think we sort of solved it? Okay. We just wanted to see your face. All right.
Thank you, Chair. So we will look back to infrastructure service because right now Greg is not here and he's a subject matter expert. So we can go over the infrastructure on the new project requests. Is that okay?
Okay, any questions on those? So Public Works first, I guess? Yeah.
Okay, we can do public works. We would need to get Brad in because Greg is not here, so he will know more about the specific projects details.
Through the chair, we'll do infrastructure services right now. We can do the. So the first
switch
bridge
there.
on that list is the one that was approved by Council Motion 27-2026. That's the emergency replacement bridge west of Mayerthorpe. Correct? We're good with that? And the other three are STIP funding applications that you also approved in the November council meeting, we applied for STIP, and that these will go forward once STIP is approved. Go ahead, Carla. I see
questions?
you.
Yeah, I just want to remind council that these are funded right now by the CCBF fund. So at the end of the day, if we are successful in getting STIP funding for these bridges, it will just release extra grant dollars for the CCBF.
Okay, thank you.
So before
Well,
we
that was
move-
easy, Brian.
Perfect. So all those projects will be good. Yeah, we'll keep it consistent, and utility service, which is under Brian's portfolio. And so one thing we updated is the solid waste truck. We changed from $100,000 that was presented previously to $65,000.
So through the chair, we've confirmed the price on that, thanks to Barry. And the solid waste trailer needs to be replaced, like we made a bit of a discussion about it being the first trailer that was here since the Lac St. Anne County became a MD. So we're actually in need of replacing that. It's tired. So if approved by council, we'd recommend going forward with that replacement.
Okay, any questions on that line? Barry?
Is there any other trailers that we have in the county that could be repurposed or done somewhere else?
So we've done the research on that, and the only issue is that it's going to be used in our transfer stations to haul some other items such as paint and other things. We'd like a covered trailer to make sure that's kind of out of the public's eye as well too.
Okay, we don't have any other cargo trailers around that are covered that could be moved around or repurposed?
Through the chair, I mean, at this time, I've talked to Stuart, and actually, no, I guess is the answer. I mean, if you want us to go back and take a look, I can certainly do that. That's no,
Through the chair, I think is another trailer through the ag services, but I think the issue is, I did look into this. There was a question on it. I just haven't got a chance to get back. I think the issue is that it is used more, so it's a question of, do we have the capacity to share the trailer, or do we need one for each department? That was the answer.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? Okay, are we okay with that budget then?
I got a question. How many miles does he put on a truck in a year?
that's, I can get back to you on that through the chair. He's one of our active people that goes to all the transfer stations every day. So it's one of the highest used vehicles, and it's Stu's in the other room. We'll find out what year it is, but it's due for replacement.
Curious on the mileage on it and how many they put on in a year.
Okay.
All right, council, are we okay with that? All right, okay, continue, Terry.
Thank you. So for the next section, so the county peace officer service, so it's a youth enforcement vehicle. So right now it's showing $20,000, but I just got a news from Dallas on Tuesday that the town of Marathon is wanting to sell the vehicle for $12,000. So there's a reduction for that.
Good negotiation. All right.
So-
Okay,
So to confirm, like, would this purchase going forward, or?
I think we'd approved the 20 already, so the 12 is fine.
We'll probably spend it on paper anyhow.
Okay, so I don't know if Brad in right now, but we are back to the public works and operations capital request. So back to page 8.
Do we have questions on that one? I'm asking council. Barry?
I'm just curious, have all the roads that have been sanctioned for ditch poles been analyzed, looked at, and they're the best ones to do at this time? Because I went and looked at a couple of them. One of them didn't look too bad. I don't remember which one I went to, but it actually looked pretty decent still.
Yeah, I can't really answer it. I know the two in my division, I think they're desperate. Yeah. But, well, they're, Division 6 is the two bottom ones, Range Road 92. That's Green Court.
I think
yeah.
the Division 5 one was the one I drove by. It didn't look bad at all. The ditches actually look pretty good shape.
My question is with respect to the public works trucks, the 1.6% and the 2.3, does that mean there's a deposit put on those trucks?
No.
Okay, so we were able to save some money in another department on pickup trucks. This figure hasn't really changed since we first were given the first budget. I wonder if there's a possibility to save some things there as well.
Remember when they presented, Dale, they were going to replace a bunch of trucks that are very old and miled out, like in the 1990s trucks?
Well, I'm just curious about the actual cost, right? Like, you know, we just heard that we approved by one from Marathorpe and they were able to save some money with a couple phone calls. Maybe that's a possibility or two.
If you look at the previous budget, these actually went up because we waited too long. The quotes went higher because of the cost of vehicles went up.
Cars cost less than Wetaskiwin.
Well, I guess, Brian, can you answer that at all or not?
I don't have data for that.
Maybe that section we can just wait till we can have
Yeah.
Brian?
Through the chair, Greg is still in the meeting, but Brad's coming down. He'll just be a second.
All right, then, yeah. So we can ask him on the, I think we'd asked him on that 5,500 diesel. We thought they could maybe do better with a gas, but
They use it for pulling the trailer and the
Yeah.
skid steer around, I believe.
Yeah.
So I think a diesel was better suited
Yeah.
for that. I think that's why one's a gas and one's a
Yeah.
diesel.
that's what I remember as well, yeah. So I think we had a discussion on that, yeah.
To give Brad a couple minutes to set up, Chair, if it pleases you, I've got some data on the truck. So it's got 370,000 kilometers, and he puts on an average of 62,000 kilometers a year. So it's in dire straits of replacement. That's the utility truck.
Which one was that?
The utility solid waste truck.
Oh, the utility,
Just at
yeah,
Halfton.
yeah. Well, I think we approved that, the utility one anyways. So Brad, the question was, a couple of questions, but on the Public Works budget ask for the two trucks, two 5,500, one gas and one diesel. I think you talked about that, or Greg had talked about it a bit, but we need a refresher. And then on the shoulder pulls, whether they're all really necessary or not.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm just looking, I did get a couple more stats on those pickups, but I think we looked at them as that they were high mileage vehicles, high years. One is a 1999, and I believe one is a 2004. One is in excess of 300,000 kilometers on it, and I think one is, the second one I'm not 100% sure, but it's high mileage, high hours as well. The diesel, why we were looking for a diesel replacement is that it pulls a enclosed grass trailer, all our grass units. Just better for the diesel to be doing that job. And then the other one, we could get away with a gas. It's what we'd be looking at is repurposing a flat tilt deck on it that we already have, and using that for multi-purpose vehicle and basically all of our operations for those.
Okay, any questions on that? Oh,
You mentioned that we'd be converting it with a flat deck. Does that mean we're buying it without the box?
Correct. We have on the trucks that we would be putting out of service, they have decks that we could repurpose and put on there. I don't even think there's a cost associated with it. It's just a plug and play essentially.
So my question was not with respect whether they need them, was that the best price that we could get? Or is it the best option? Would an option be not to purchase brand new and purchase 1 or 2 year old? That was where I'm coming from.
To this point, we haven't looked at the used option. We did find multiple quotes from different dealers on the new. We figured this was the best. I think actually it is the best price and just kind of the best option as far as what's needed. But we have not explored the used option at this point.
okay, thank you. Any other questions? So we okay with that? Yes, okay. All right, then. And the planer, I think we talked about, and we sort of thought that was necessary. Yeah, all right. So the shoulder pulls then. There was some question on the 550, actually.
Okay. Sorry, could you refresh me on what the question was on
The
550?
question is, are they needed, or are these the most needed shoulder pulls we have? And I know you would like to do a few every year, so we don't want to get too far behind. But are these the most necessary ones?
Yes, from our analysis, this is essentially the group that would be the first in order that would need it the most. As of this list, if I was to give it a priority, Range Road 55 is very high on that list. That road is relatively busy with the campground up there, so we would look at that one, and then I think 550 probably as far as high traffic. That's fairly busy as well. We'd like to tune that one up as well. Those are the top two priorities in my mind. And then when we get to 92, those two sections there, it's less. But again, these are the top four in our priority list right now.
Okay, just my comment, Range Road 92, to me, those roads desperately need help. I don't know if it's a shoulder pull or not, but they're troublesome roads. They're very soft, and so if the others are worse, then they must be pretty bad.
Yeah, they're not not necessarily soft like that, but again, like that's why all of these were presented this way for this year, as they do need some work for sure. So,
Okay, council, what's your wish? Leave them on?
So I have a question for Ann. So Ann, in our famous asset management, next budget, will we have a little more explicit information on some of this stuff?
Yes.
Thank you.
So is it a consideration that we could postpone 2 of these or not?
I think what we'll see moving forward is that there's probably it would be very worthwhile to do at least 10 per year, but I mean, if that is the direction, I mean, again, it's the list probably isn't going to get much smaller as we move throughout the years. It's probably going to stay around the same every year. There's going to be new ones that need to go. And again, to pointing to Ann's asset management, when we can get a better, clearer picture for you to present, you'll see what that looks like. And but I just don't see the list getting smaller for a long time.
Thank you. So one thing I want to mention is that when I was calculating the cost of the project, the shoulder posts, so there's 2 components. So there's external contractor and also internal employee doing the work, which under accounting standard, we have to capitalize it. But the staff that is working on it, which is employee part of the county, So regardless of the project going forward, we are paying for the staff already. So in a way, if we look at the cost of the project is the external, which is, I calculate around like 60% split for the external and then 40% of the the contributor asset from the staff working towards it. So if that helps, if it's cost sensitive, that's another way to look at it as well.
So are you saying that these costs are some of external, some isn't, and the internal stuff shows up somewhere else as well?
No, so the staff costs, we were under accounting, so once they work on the project, so any hours related to that project, we had to do an adjusting entry towards the project, which is kind of shifting, the cost stays the same, but we're just shifting to the balance sheet instead of in the income statement.
I think I understand.
So what you're saying is the costs allocated to the shoulder pulls are including our in-house staff as well? And if we were to cut the shoulder pulls, we'd be able to gain that back in another portion of the budget?
No, so the staffing cost is already based on what the current staff that we have under the budget is already under the budget, and say if there's any materials or not contract, maybe Brad will speak about the external vendors side of things. Yeah.
Sure. So essentially, I think if I'm following what Terry's saying, essentially we'd allocate our own resources, our workers, our manpower to other projects. Of course, there is a little bit of external costs, gravel when it comes to shoulder pull. There would be a little bit of locating cost, a few contractor costs that way. But essentially, we're paying for the workforce to be working, our workforce regardless, I think is what Terry's saying. They would just be doing other projects for us at that time.
Okay, thank you. All right, council, what's your wish? Leave it as it is? Leave as is? Yeah? Okay, go ahead.
I have a question.
Barry?
Under the removed projects, you guys eliminated quite a bit of projects under, like the Eagle Ridge, the 540, we already said, Greg said he's gonna look for a grant for the base construction. The Wildland, the ERP. Now, we discussed Eagle Ridge has a really bad road in that subdivision. When it gets wet, people literally slide in the ditch and it's pretty bad. We discussed about getting an estimate on just to do that one road.
Yeah, so kind of what my thought is there, it would maybe fall under our operations with our patching kind of crews, as far as I know. But we had also talked about during that meeting, and it was kind of brought up, I believe it was Greg that brought it up, just talking about whether that ended up being, worth it, because we talked about doing it right the first time and kind of doing the whole thing. So what I can say is I don't have any extra numbers for you if that's what you're looking for at this point. But I could likely what we'd end up doing there is probably working on fixing it with our own operating resources with millings and cold mix. But I'm sure that's not what you're after there. So I don't have extra numbers for you, I guess, to long-windedly answer your question.
Okay, any further questions?
Thank you.
Sure, so just touch base on the capital funding and financing sources. The CCBF, we are using a little over $1 million, the LGFF 1.6. We do have a little room left in some of these, and there has been some minor budget amendments today, so, but like in CCBF right now, we have $123,000 left in there. So after council has gone through and made these decisions, clear decisions for administration, we might go and rejig some of this funding because we want to use as much. If we can use grants, we'll use grants before reserves, and definitely grants, reserves, debt. That's kind of, hope council agrees with that type of strategy that we kind of look at for that. We have some sale of assets, so that's basically majority of that is the sale of and trade-ins for our graders. Contributed assets, part of that is that's to do with the shoulder poles actually, so the county, because it's our own sources working on it, we contribute that to the capital fund. Debenture, I think, is going to be reworked here a little bit because of the cancellation of that truck, so that's going to change. And then we have some transfers, some reserves for just some other funding, so we're in pretty good shape. Like I said, on the, currently, I haven't finalized 2025 will be finalized by the end of next week. I'm going to do a lot with it, get our done on review, but right now I do have a placeholder in the LGFF grant, just in case on the ERP software. If I have that in there, we actually have $56,000 in the LGFF grant. And in CCBF, we have $123,000 of unused funds. So we got a little room there. It's not a bad idea. We never know. Sometimes some things may come up mid-year that we want to do some funding with. And with the CCBF grant, I think it's very important that if those bridges are funded by some STIP funding, they will release some dollars in there too. So if there's some important projects and road projects, like maybe we want to take a look at possibly Eagle Ridge, that sort of thing, we could take those monies and allocate into that.
So just as something to look for next year's budget, when we have that capital funding and financing, we have two columns there. We have amount and we have allocation. It would be handy for me to see what's left already in those, so we don't have to ask the questions. We know that there's $100,000 left or whatever.
It is typically something we do add to this. It just was missed. We'll make sure council actually gets a copy of that. Probably will come to you next week.
Just a question. I was trying to find the actual reserves category. Could you direct me to it?
So you want to know the details of what reserves are taken, being funded by capital, or?
No, just where it's located as a bulk number. What do we have in reserves?
It's on page 71. 71.
Could you explain what restricted and unrestricted reserves are to us, please? Like, I think you said restricted or have to go toward those actual projects they were applied for? Is that correct?
Yes. Restricted reserves are basically things that are earmarked for certain things. For example, if we have a reserve, a utility reserve for our hamlets, we have our hamlet sewer systems, and at the end of the day, we're putting so many dollars into reserve, that is restricted for that hamlet. So, and another things in the restricted reserve would be things like the public land reserve, monies that we make any for sale of municipal reserve lands, lease monies, interest earned on that account is very restricted through the MGA on what we can spend those dollars on. Sometimes, and we do have a reserve policy that's going to be coming to council before I leave March 31st. So council can review that, and it determines restricted and unrestricted reserves as well too. Some things are legislated, some things council can determine what to do. Unrestricted reserves is more of an area where council can make that determination if it can be used here and there. Like our corporate general fund is a great example of that. We can use it for different things that we maybe want to, like at the end of the year in regards to the recruitment of the CAO, we were going to take from the corporate reserve fund to hire a contractor to help. That didn't happen. You guys did that. So we used for that reserve. So it was based on council's determination. So it's a little bit more flexible.
Just to make sure that council is clear too, everything in brackets means it's a positive. Am I correct? And no brackets means it's going down?
Are we talking about the unrestricted and restricted reserve, or we're talking about the budget variance?
So what I'm talking about is when you look at line by line, you'll see like in the unrestricted, the first one's in brackets, 606,000 some odd. And we are going to decrease it, or pardon me, we're going to increase it by $85,000.
Yes.
In the normal accounting stuff, when it's in brackets, it's negative. But with this, it's positive.
Just a question. You say the restricted funds we can only use for specific things. For example, so the administration building with that money that's invested and the money that comes from that, we're restricted in what we can use that for?
Currently on our reserve policy, it is. Council can determine that when we bring that reserve policy back and how you want to determine that, right? Like some things are definitely legislated, but you could determine, you could change that if you want. That's council's discretion. So.
Ann?
Through the chair, one of the things that Carla and I were discussing before she leaves us at the end of the month for a well-deserved retirement, we are looking at updating the reserve policy and the debt policy, but we plan on doing that before the budget's finalized, I believe. And we want to also bring forward a presentation on all of our current reserves and just some background that will help council.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. Good. All right, let's continue on then.
Can we go to page 13? So I just want to talk about a little bit about overall view of our operating budget summary. So our assessment roll has been submitted to the province. It's due usually at the end of February. It was submitted on February 20th. Rob did provide me with that assessment information. There is one component about that assessment information that will be subject to change, and that's in regards to the small business assessment. So what happens, small businesses, they apply, and they have to apply by February 28th. And then right now our small businesses sit in non-residential assessment. So they apply by February 28th, and Rob, within the first couple of weeks of March, moves the assessment from non-residential to small business. So right now I'm doing an estimate on small business right now. It does affect the bottom line on the assessment values because of course small business is at 75% of the non-residential rate. Okay. So
Just a question on that. It says here that all application components must be received by our office no later than February 28th. Does that mean today or tomorrow?
yeah, we definitely honor our days grace if they get it to us, you know, I think probably on Monday. So, but after that, it'd be very strict. So, because we do have to do a cutoff because it's important to enable county council to make decisions on tax rates as well too, so.
I'm just curious because I own a small business and this is first I heard of it. Were we notified of this?
I can follow up with that. I thought it was in the application. It states in the application, but allow me to, I can follow up on that for sure. Yeah, because what was happening in prior years is it was allowed to, people could sign up for it throughout the year. And it was so hard because council would set the budget or set the tax rate. And then 2 months down the line, we could have had another, you know, so many dollars of assessment and you lose dollars off of that, off your end tax dollar because it's only 75%. So, but I'll definitely follow up on that.
Dale?
So, and then for the next year we'll adjust that so that it matches?
Yes.
Okay. Matches what?
So that that is due before we have to make the budget, rather than
Yes,
after.
or, sorry, through the chair to Deputy Reeve Johnson, or we will make sure the fund is there, either the fund or the date. Does that answer your question?
Okay, good.
Yeah, we could determine to make it due by December 31st per se, then we know.
Well, the thing is, if we're making the budget, gonna have it by December 31st, we probably need it prior.
Yes, but knowing too, you will not know the assessment dollars at December 31st of this year too, so. Okay, just to carry on, so there definitely was a couple factors. There's assessment growth and inflation. The growth did increase by $58 million, and that is based on new development. That would changes residential to increase about $312,000 based on today's tax rate. And linear assessment was down 1.9, so that's probably about a $50,000 hit to our budget, reduction in linear municipal tax.
Just a question. Am I reading this right? So the assessment growth was basically $59 million? Okay.
And that's pretty good, because I mean, that's determining
pretty
new
impressive,
development,
I'd
right?
say. That's,
Yeah.
I was wondering if that number is right, because like what major projects do we have that did that?
I can't answer that. Rob would be the best person to answer that. So it'd be new houses. And I know actually, for example, around the Darwell area, there's been a lot of new houses going up around there. I do see that. So that's all these new homes in there. So, and that could also include includes, yeah, so like I said, I could get Rob to get a better number or detail on that.
Okay, so
I
the
could answer that, but it'd be wrong.
residential assessment is up $60 million. Is that, do I
That's
read
correct.
that
That's
right?
that's to do with new development, yeah.
And that's due, okay. And then because we went down 1.9 and up 4.3, that's the 59 million. So it's basically all residential.
Yep, so new
Yeah.
buildings, new development, new growth, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So, and the next part of that is the assessment and inflation. That's basically a big factor on the market land adjustments. So right now linear is at 0, residential went up $11 million. That equates to, on our 2025 tax rate, about $59,000 in additional tax revenue, and all others is at 1.2. And 1.2 would be more on the non-residential side, probably maybe some different businesses, that sort of thing. Also in this, I've included some information on our tax rate increases at 6 years at a glance. It shows back at 2020, all through up 2025, how things increased. 2021, as you can see, they stayed the same. I remember that. We kept things pretty close in regards to COVID. That was the big change in there to keep rates down for the residents. So, and then we did do some increases for the residential, 22, 23, 24, 5. And as you can see, non-residential, the biggest increases there was 24 and 2025.
Just curious on the non-residential, we're still showing, in 2022, a 2.75 increase, in 2023, a 5.6 increase, in 2024, a 12% increase, and in 2025, an 11% increase. Are we looking at an increase or a reduction this year?
It would be my strong recommendation to council to reduce the non-residential rate.
It's not really up to us to reduce the non-residential rate. It is? It's totally up to us?
Absolutely. It's council determination. You'll set the tax rates for residential, farmland, and non-residential
So
properties.
what is it set at right now for the 2026 proposed budget?
So, I'll get into that a little bit more, okay? Next page, please. So described on version 3 of our budget today, the budget maintains no change to the municipal tax rates, which remain estimated at a deficit of $262,000. This factors in, if we factor in the assessment and inflation, that municipal taxes will be increasing by $363,000. So that, in fact, would leave us, so if we want to go down to that table there, actually, we'll stop.
Through the chair, the general manager of operations is here for 10 minutes in between his hearing. So I know you just had questions about that, some of the engineering costs, if he could answer them while he's here. If we want to go back, I'm not sure.
I think
Page-
we're okay. Your 3 minutes are up. Thanks for coming in though, Greg. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so like I said, version 3, $262,000 deficit. With the assessment growth and inflation increase, it was $363,000. That left us with surplus of 101. At the last budget meeting, council requested that we take a look at reducing the rate for residential by 2%. If we do that, it's $211,000. However, what we really need to keep in mind with this, if we reduce the residential rate, right now our ratio, so with residential to non-res, we would be required to also reduce the non-residential rate. So, and I would like to move away a little bit from the edge of that 4.9 to the 5. That's where we're at. So I'd recommend doing a 2.5 reduction. So if we put all that into play, our proposed deficit would be $384,000. And it would reduce our ratio down to 4.97 to 1.
Looking at your numbers prior, we're gonna be up 312,000 due to the new developments, right? On the assessment, so we're not really too far off that number.
This includes it. If you see up above there, the deficit and then the 363, that includes the growth and inflation increase, so.
Just a question here. But since we're doing adjustments, that table will change, correct?
Yeah, it'll come down a little bit.
That table
Yeah.
will change, yeah.
So just as curiosity, for every dollar that we remove from an operating budget, how does that translate back to what you have proposed here? I mean, I don't expect you to have the answer right away, but, you know, when we look at it at the council, say we saved $10,000 over here, that's gonna affect our taxes by 10 cents or whatever it might be.
We used to have, I could probably take a look at a document and get back to you on that. We used to have a report that said how much we spend, how much each tax dollar, every cent of a dollar, what's spent. So we could probably look at something.
Through the chair to Carla, I think, I don't mean to speak for Deputy Reeve Johnson, but I think he's asking if we have $70,000, it's 1% of the tax. Is that? Yeah.
You read my mind.
Yeah, I think that would be a valuable number to know that how much does, you know, I would say every $10,000, you don't want that number too low, but every 10, or you could even say every 100,000, how much does that make it? Is that 1%? Is it 0.3%? I think that's a good number for us to know as council.
Also on the flip side too, with the increase of assessment on the same,
Same,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So I was actually just calculating that, how that would look like, because I was waiting till once we have more direction on what the operating would be, so it would, instead number was changing around, so I can present a more clear and simpler way.
Excellent. Okay, continue, Carla.
Okay. Anyway, so right now, so these are, there's one thing I didn't put on this page as well too. We still have the $250 minimum tax as well too. Is council okay with that $250? And we can talk about it a little bit further as we go ahead, but
On just open lots, or what are we talking about, the 250?
so the minimum tax, we do have a minimum tax with the municipality that you have to pay $250. So it basically, it directly affects farmland properties. So sometimes a farmland property valued at, and I do have an example on a little further down here. So a farmland property valued at, you know, $23,000, they won't be able to pay, they won't be paying, they may be paying $175 or something like that. And what the the minimum tax rate does, it tops it up, so it's 250. So there would be, no matter what, so if their municipal rate against it was 175, and then the minimum rate would increase it, so it matched 250, so.
It affects all properties. I asked the question last year when they made the decision. It affects about 6,000 properties in the county, of which some of them are empty lots, a lot of them are farmland, and some of them are smaller forced, smaller farmland that reduced the tax, and then they were forced to pay $250. And so it's a pretty complicated thing, but it, as I understood, it gained about $600,000 of tax revenue for the county.
Actually about 320, so.
Okay, the comment was when I asked the question last year, it was 600, but I guess it ended up being 300, okay.
So I've heard, and of those 6,000 properties, probably got 3,000 phone calls.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it was, as you indicated, it might be a small block of farmland, 10 acres, and there might be 2 or 3 of those in a quarter because there have been previous owners, so that the tax bills in most of those cases doubled. And I don't think people understood what was going on. And I believe the idea behind it was that if we're working on a tax bill, let's say is for $40, at the county level, it probably costs us $140 to actually write that $40 bill. So it did affect most farmers, and most farmers are still upset.
Oh, in the campaigning, that was one of the biggest comments I had, is get rid of that. And I'm getting calls continuously on that, are you guys working on getting rid of that? So the question is, it was at 125, it got bumped to 250 last year, right? And they were actually considering $500, and which would have affected virtually every quarter of land in the county if they'd have jumped that high. So it's a yeah, it's a really, really sore spot. Yeah.
So that'd be something that we'd have to determine, you know, that's part of the tax rate bylaw. So if council is looking at reducing that or doing something with that, that's something we probably need to talk about as well too, so.
No, I think we need to look at the open lots, vacant lots in these subdivisions, that people are just sitting on them, pulling a trailer out in the summer and then leaving, right? That, I think, needs to be adjusted.
You know, and I know Bo just said that, and I tend to agree with it. I think it's going to be really, really hard for us in this year's budget before we build in efficiencies in our operation. And much as I'm against the minimum tax bylaw, I think I could sell it to my residents by saying that, look, give us a year to work on it. and that we address it in next year's budget. And because I don't, it's really, really hard to reduce the budget as far as we've asked in the first year, because the efficiencies, we don't realize the efficiencies yet. And I think we can push administration to fix these efficiencies, bring our budget down, and then we can do things like getting rid of that minimum tax area and balance our budget properly.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly, and then I would say that when we look at service delivery levels too, that's an important component of that as well.
So I don't know if council agrees with that, but I know I'd be one of the bigger advocates of getting rid of it, but I'm prepared to leave it for a year. What's your thought, Jill? I know you get calls on that as well.
Yes, the farmers. I would be with Jurgen, like kind of give it a year and then try to reduce it for the farmer, especially the small farmers. They're the ones that struggle the most with that tax, unfortunately. The big guys, not so much.
No, I agree too. Maybe change it up for the farmer side, but on the vacant lots, I think it needs to remain, like, and put pressure on to develop or do something with those properties.
Yeah, I just want, just so council is aware of this, for the vacant lots within subdivisions, we do have a separate tax class for that, or tax assessment class for that. So council can increase that rate. I think right now it matches the farmland tax rate, which is, for farmers, it's fine because their assessment is bound by the 1993 legislation. But for the residential vacant properties within acreages, that's assessed at market value. So they do pay quite a bit of money in those lots right now currently. So the minimum tax would not affect those at all.
All right, thank you. Okay, we okay with that then? Okay, let's say we'll leave that minimum tax for this year.
Okay, so those are the minimums discussed before, the municipal tax rate, minimum tax rates. That's something county council has control over. What they don't have control over is what we need to collect on behalf of the province. Can we go to page 14, please? Okay. So right now, we do not have these numbers yet. I'm expecting them very soon with the Alberta budget being released. So our education tax, that's what we collected in 2025. I am anticipating an increase to the education tax. RCM police, it definitely did increase from $676,000 to $922. That's an increase of $245,000. That is the estimated preliminary estimate on that. So, and just an example, on a residential property with assessment $400,000 for the policing, it would increase by $39, so 36.67%. That will be the policing increase this year. So,
Well, in the budget yesterday, education, it went up significantly, so I don't know how much it affects us, but when they say Calgary, it's 1.2 million more, and Edmonton, just about $1 million.
yeah, I see it did definitely increase. I was going to try to work the numbers before the meeting this morning, but I didn't have an opportunity to, but it would definitely will increase. Again, the other collections required is for the Laxam Foundation, seniors housing. So basically not very much of an increase there, increase overall of $10,000. So again, on a $400,000 property, the property tax would increase by about $2, 2.17%. Okay, do we want to take a little 10-minute break here and then we'll get organized for the balance of this?
10-minute break. Girls, ready to go. Okay, welcome back. Carla will continue.
Okay, so this week, so we have version 3 there that's got out some pretty good detail on the operating budgets, and we will go back to that budget document. But right now, I think it's important that we talk about version 4. This week, we did do some, went through the budget again, administration, and we were able to find some other savings here and there within the budget. And this is what we found. So if we want to go to page 2. So we've actually brought the budget down to a deficit of $114,000. So that's good. Just want to do a little overview on that and what changed. The original version 2 budget, which was brought to County Council on February 11th, we were at $557,000 deficit. We did several different amendments within the budget. Like for example, administration came down $138,000. There was some reduced contracted assistance, and then we had some 2025 carry forward revenue that came into the budget. Assessment also reduced by $97,000. There was some costs to purchase a digital sign in there. We decided that we would change that over to do a rental as opposed to a purchase. So that was a definite cost savings in there. There was also some budget numbers there for some software support, which we didn't feel was necessary because we are looking at moving to a different software. So we went through the budget and did some amendments here and there and everywhere, and it brought us down to, at the end of the day, to bring us to version 3 of a deficit of $262,000. This week, again, we went through it again because we really want to bring these dollars down as much as possible as per council's direction. So we did a bunch of changes within this budget as well too. Reducing some training and development and some conference costs. We added in the summer career grant, which is something we don't usually put into the operating budget, but we did not get it once, but we kind of know the reason why we didn't get it, so we're very confident we'll get that summer career grant. So at the end of the day, we realized some additional cost savings of $148,000, bringing us down to a deficit on version 4 of $114,000. Okay. You can go to the next page. Yeah, just a couple different views that we have there. Just for the public version there, we have a by category view and then by department view. So this is just a by category view for the public members. Council has that in their package as well. So.
We don't, page 4?
Yeah, just go down one more page. Jenny. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be on this page. If you can just enlarge that a little bit, actually. So right now, this is something, right now, and this is going to be entirely up to council and what they want to do. So we're bringing in that deficit in the yellow area there down near the bottom of the page of $114,000. Administration has put in a reduction of the non-residential rate of 1.5%. So that's $164,000. We factored our growth and inflation of $363,000. And right now it's leaving a surplus at $84,000. Now, having a bit of a surplus in here right now at this point in time isn't a bad idea. Like I said, there's 305 changes. There's going to be changes to the small business assessment. Basically what I do is I estimate, so if we want to look kind of up on top there, you see I have the non-residential assessment and the small business highlighted there. I want you to take note that the small business assessment matches exactly to the 2005. So the 2026 assessment matches the same as 2025. It's an estimate of what we're going to land for small business tax. So that's not going to be the case, I can guarantee you. So, but I just do an estimate in there. So like I said, it could be more, and if it is more, then that will reduce that surplus that's there right now as well too. But at this point in time, when I'm doing estimates for council, that's where we're going to land at. Okay, if we want to go to the next page, does anybody have any questions about this page?
Residential condo, what is that, has that been, what is that exactly? Recreational condo.
It's residential condos, so it is the condominium properties within our municipality. So we do have a separate tax class to that.
Are
and
you
we-
talking Bearland condominium?
You know, again, Rob should probably come in and talk about that to find the full details of that. And I can definitely get you that information, so.
Can we? Well, it should be.
I think it would be
Can
water,
we get
yeah.
Rob to do some explaining on that, Ann? On the developed residential condominium? Can we have Rob
Yes,
explain?
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, he's away right now, so he's not in. He's gonna be gone. When he comes back, he can come maybe talk to you about that. Perhaps maybe at the next I don't know if the next council meeting, but he'll definitely come speak up that.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I think it'd be beneficial, not just for that one though, Carla, when Rob comes, to give just an overview on every tax class. That would be helpful.
Okay, so this kind of goes through. So what I've done is done per 100,000 assessment, so we can see how, you know, obviously on this one, particular one, that there was no change. Let's just move down a little bit, please. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone through. I've selected a country residential zone. This is actually on the east end of our county. We are definitely seeing a little bit of decrease with the market with some of those properties. So their taxes right now would come down $92.95, and that's with zero increase to the tax rate. School taxes is just basically coming down because of the assessment change. RCMP is going up and foundation is down a little bit. So overall variance at this point in time is $83. But as said, the school taxes, we don't know that number yet, and there will be an increase there. So, but council has no control over that. Okay, we can go to the next page. So we picked a property in the agricultural zone as well too here. So again, they seen a little bit of reduction in there. Pretty self-explanatory in here, kind of what's going on with that. We have recreational lake zone. Some of this assessment has reduced in our lake zones, so that's good. So there's an example of that. And then here's somebody in a different zone that's south of the lakes. So this is a property that actually hasn't had any development done. This is just a market land increase. So they'll be seeing an increase of $123 for municipal tax at a 0% increase. So like Rob said, when he came to me and I spoke to council before, he said there'll definitely be some inflation, but he's seen a lot of reductions come down too. Some areas did go up a bit in the market as well too. This particular area did. I did check several properties around the eastern side, some lakes, different things. Some went up a minimal, but lots went reduced assessments. So, okay, if we can go to the next page. So this is an example of a piece of farmland. So this property is going to show you how that minimum tax is working. So there's a piece of farmland valued at $13,000. Their farmland taxes would be $203.93. The minimum tax rate Bible will come into effect and change it, do an additional tax of $46.07. So their total municipal tax is $250. Okay. And non-residential, so this is another example of a non-residential property. So this is going to factor in the 1.5% decrease in the tax rate, and there was a bit of an increase on this assessment from 2026, and for the non-res, and a bit of a decrease for machinery and equipment. So, okay, it basically breaks that down. And the last one is a small business, showing a bit of an increase to their assessed value for the 2026 year. It does work out, they have to pay a little bit more, and then they get the 50% small business incentive as well too. So,
So I have a question that you got ahead of me a little bit there. I'm looking for, I guess that's page 1 of 3, which is back a couple. We have municipal tax rate increase percentage. We've got farmland listed, residential vacant, residential non-residential vacant, residential condo, non-residential linear, and small business. Now, the residential condo mill rate is 0.005164. The residential, which is the residential mill rate?
It's the second from the, so
So it's
Jenny, can you go to the, one more page? No, the other way. The other way, the other way. Keep going, stay stop.
correct.
Stop.
Okay, that page.
So yeah, so where it says the 2025 tax rate up at top there. So residential is there. The residential rate is the same rate as the residential condo right now. 0.5164 for both.
Okay, I'm missing that. Oh, yeah, well, that's the page I'm talking about. Okay, so it's 0.5164, that is, that's residential developed and non-developed?
Yeah, it's residential and vacant.
Right, so we just heard before, though, that there was a different tax rate for residential non-developed.
You can, council can make that
I
determination.
thought we heard there was. No, we were talking before about the fact of the rate between a vacant piece of farmland or small lot outside of a subdivision. And then we said, inside a subdivision, there's a different tax rate.
Okay,
We do
so
have vacant residential too. There's a separate one there. The second one.
Okay,
is
so
vacant
then when I
residential.
see,
That one's higher.
okay. I'm just wanting to make sure that a developed residential condo style development, what its mill rate is compared to a residential mill rate in a subdivision.
So, yes, so recreational condo, if it's developed, they'll get the same rate as a residential rate. If we have a vacant property, so that residential vacant rate, you can see it's up, it's 0.15333, so that's definitely a higher rate. Yeah. It's the same rate, we use the same rate for that as we do with farmland.
Farmland's much higher.
Yeah, but the residential rate is the same as recreational condo, but my example earlier talking about when there's a vacant piece of property in a subdivision, they will get the residential vacant rate.
Yeah, they're leaving it the same as 25. See, and then you've got your residential condo, and residential is
The same.
5164.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got it?
Yeah, that's fine. I was just trying to make a comparison to a situation like Water's Edge where they've paid for all their infrastructure and that sort of stuff, and they're billed at the same mill rate that
Everyone
anybody else would be.
The only reason their taxes are higher is because their value is so much more, the assessed value.
Thank you.
Okay, and so on this particular model as well too, which I should have brought up, is by reducing the non-residential rate by the 1.5%, it'll bring our ratio down to 4.92 to 1, so which is better. Right now we're 4.99, which is pretty high, so that will be better. And it'll be better for, some industrial growth within the municipality as well too, so. It would be your third page in. Yeah, just flip your first two pages, it's. I forgot to put page numbers on.
Any questions there? I know this stuff is complex and confusing. Certainly is for me.
In the category GI on that page, the residential condo shows an increase, is that correct? 12.44%?
Yeah, I had noticed that too. I was gonna try and get Rob to just get some information for me on that, which I will, and get him to provide that to council, because I did see that increase quite a bit. So I'm thinking there must have been some additions in our municipality is what I'm believing that is. So if you want to give me 2 seconds, I might be able to tell you that answer. Carrie can sing while I'm doing this.
Any other question? Did you find something?
I did. It looks like there is some growth increase in there, about $1.8 million of growth. So inflation actually came down about $294,000, and growth is 1.8 million for the recreational condominium area.
Okay, thank you.
So I think what we'll do is, so I just want to bring forth about the version 4 package that we did bring it down that to this particular area, because just show that, and we're going to go back to the other package now too, because it breaks down. Yes, we've done some amendments and some decreases in areas in there, but we want to go back to the original version 3 package because it provides a little bit more detail on the operating budget, and for council to determine if there's anything you want to talk about. I know you've had a couple days to look over the package. Is there any departments or anything you want to go through in a little bit more detail? Any questions you may have?
I'd like a breakdown of all the vehicles that are in the vehicle budget, starting there. I think it was at 4.7 million, I think, when I looked at it last. Just said vehicles, I think, 3.7 or 4.7.
Oh, you're talking about the capital budget?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we could get that for you.
Carla, with the revenue, we include in that, grants and everything else. So our budget of revenue is $42.5 million, which is up $1 million over last year, right? Including everything. And we've dropped our expenses by 5.4 million. So why is our budget not affected? Like our operating budget, you would think if we dropped our expenses by 5 million, then our operating budget should look much better. And I realize there's some balances on less borrowing there, and so your income is less if we drop that. But I need something simplified in my mind that I can actually understand.
Are you looking at the category budget right now? Is that what you're
Well,
looking?
if we look on that, it's in your number 4. I'm just looking at that one, where the proposed budget by category and revenue and expense. So that should include everything, right? So the revenue comes out as 4.2575864 million. And your expenses are, oh no, 48, I guess it's a deficit.
Yes, it's
of,
48 million.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, which is
deficit of $5 million. Sorry, I'm reading this wrong.
But the deficit is, there's an amortization line in there on assets, which is 5, right?
Right. So the amortization is, yeah, we have to budget for amortization. So if you look at the budget change between 25, 26 at the bottom there, that's going to show your difference, your net difference there. So, and there's definitely some things that increased in the budget. We did have some debt repayment for, you did the $1 million draw for the fire truck. We had to do a draw for the cold storage building as well too. So we do have some debt dropping off also, and that's going to be coming forth. You'll see that realization more in 2027, but some will be dropping off in 2026 as well too. So, yeah. And we are putting a little bit more into reserves and surplus. Actually, we can talk about this page a little bit. Like I'm just kind of pinpointing under expenses, different things that's increased in here. Of course, bank charges, insurance, another. It's up a little bit. That has to do with, so some of the interest we're paying right now on some of our debt repayment. So that's kind of increased a little bit in there. I'd have to dig in a little bit on other expenses, but transfer reserve, surplus, and inventory, that's up a little bit, which is always a good thing. Part of that is too, with the municipal services packages for enforcement and fire services, we increased that from 40% to 60% from that revenue. So those are kind of the big fluctuations. Other expenses I'll take a look at a little bit further to see what that changes. But having to increase the reserves is a good thing for sure.
Anyone else? Any questions there? Oh, Dale?
Well, I'm trying to correlate a little more to what you were saying. I know that in the beginning of the one document, we dropped some capital projects and that sort of stuff to a significant amount.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to be showing up anywhere. That's what I'm running back and forth from paper to paper trying to figure out.
But it's not going to affect the operating budget unless we're doing debt, right? So you drop capital projects, so that will relieve maybe some grants, maybe some other things, but it's just going to affect debt. And sometimes we don't pull that debt until the following year, right? Because we're going into February when we may purchase that property. If we don't pull that debt, let's say we pulled that debt right now for, say we were going to get some debt in 2026 to purchase something, okay? So if we pulled that debt, let's say in July, our first payment wouldn't be until 2027. Okay, that's how the Alberta Capital Finance works. It delays it every 6 months, so you wouldn't see that to 2027. So that could be part of it too. So, but the capital is basically separate. We try to fund mostly from grants and reserves, so that has no effect on on your operating budget in 2025.
Yeah, so thank you. That does help me. So in actual fact, the way we have to correlate that reduction in capital expenditures, we got to correlate it with a balance sheet where we see the difference, and not in the operating side. That was the question we had was we drop all these things and we don't see any change in our budget, but it's the operating, and because we're pulling it out of either reserves or debt or grants.
I mean, and there's also other things that we didn't have anything in the budget in 2026, but if we ever want to fund something from operating for capital, that would affect it, right? But we don't have anything right now that we're doing that with, so.
Okay, does that, I think, and Barry, you had that question, that sort of answers that question, right? Okay, let's continue on.
Okay, so if we want to go to version 3, like I said, is there any particular budgets? Do we want to go through everything? Is there anything that over the last few days that you've kind of looked at that you'd like to discuss a little further?
Well, I guess I'll keep harping on the same tune I've been a long time ago is efficiencies. And I really would like to see that coming in the longer term budget. I understand the difficulty of doing it this year, but when I went through this and I didn't see any changes in the 5-year projections, I was a little disturbed. So to me, that is where we have to be aggressive in identifying efficiencies, and they have to go in that long-term budget. Yeah, our 5-year budget, if it doesn't show up, which it didn't, that really, really concerns me.
And one of our big focuses when we were going through the budget here just recently was looking at the 2026 budget, because we know council's going to be going through with their strategic planning and making sure that we realign this budget according to council's direction with that.
Yeah, and I get it. I know we can't change these efficiencies immediately, but I don't ever want that to be lost in administration, I think our council is very, very high on making sure those efficiencies come in place and that we see budget reductions as we move forward. And that's a challenge to you.
Under IT services on page 20, in 2025, we spent 668 and the budget was 824. And for 2026 is back to 820. Why the huge change in contracted services?
So when we signed the contract for IT contract, we had a bit of a rebate for that for the first year for a monthly amount for customer incentive, and then that went off in 2026. So it was for a 1-year term, so that increased.
So that's what we pay Trinus guys a year? For real?
Do have somebody in-house, and they do look after all of our, cybersecurity, different things like that, so.
I should get into cybersecurity and in IT. Holy cow.
Sorry, page 15, the bottom of the page number, there's a line that says towers with an increase of 12%. Are we talking communication towers?
Through the chair, I'll handle that. So we have eight towers that are owned by Lac-Sainte County. We lease to various different providers such as TELUS and others as well too. So we're in charge of security, power, and it's also where Randy has his, or the fire chief, my apologies, has his emergency radios at those towers as well too.
So what generated that increase?
In my recollection, it was increased costs in terms of having the towers actually covered through security. So up until now, this is a public meeting, so the security is limited, and now we're going to have robust security because we're getting people breaking into every building and every tower we have.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the airport. I see the budget jumped from 40,000 to 78,000. We just agreed that airport's not making a nickel and we just increased the budget on it? I don't understand that one.
So we still have that $1 in there. If council doesn't want to move forward with that, we can take that off of there. We were looking at doing some fixing up in there, so if that's been removed, we can take that out, so.
I'm game for removing it. The airports are not making a dime. It's costing us nothing but money. And I don't think there's a way to make it profitable unless somebody finds a golden goose there.
So what are we spending the money on there? Because as I understood, we had done some renovations a year or two ago or something. And is this for cleaning up the hangars or that we don't even own?
So what that consists of, we do have a budget line in here for special projects for airport rehabilitation for $50,000. In 2025, we also had a budget for $20,000 that we never spent any money on, so we transferred that forward to 2026. So the net effect of that budget is additional $30,000. If council wants that removed, we can certainly remove that.
I highly recommend we stop spending money on that airport. It's not even a feasibility right now.
Well, I think we have to take a look at what we're going to do with the airport, and to put a bunch of money in it right now, not knowing what we're gonna do, doesn't make sense to me.
Tell the town of Marathon
And-
to take it over as a
Well,
go-kart track.
So.
well, well, whatever.
So
I
through the
I don't think that's.
Through the chair, we had the presentation that talked about the airport kind of resurgence, et cetera, and just as a placeholder, we added that 50,000 just to take care of the cleanup and the discussion about possibly establishing a lease program and establishing it to be able to be leased. If that's not the council's will at this time, or if you want time to discuss it and add it to the 2027 budget, we will take care of that for sure and take that 50,000 out.
And
Thank you. Through the chair, I think going back to our full-scale service review, this is certainly a piece. Do we want to run an airport? I would suggest taking it out, but I would suggest leaving perhaps 10,000 in, just in case that we want to, if we do want to get ourselves out of the airport business, we may want to make it more appealing to somebody who's going to purchase it. So you may want to leave a little bit of funding in there.
okay, Trista?
Carla, just for clarification, you said there was $20,000 that could be carried forward from 2025. So that wouldn't affect 2026 taxation at all. And so you may want to leave the 20,000 in there that's already funded from 2025.
So we recommended we leave 20,000 total for cleanup, possibly, so we can sell it. Would be nice.
Through the chair to Councillor Voltner, I would suggest that we look at it holistically.
Yeah, thank you. I think that makes sense. Just leave the 20,000 in. It doesn't affect this year's budget. And we still have to approve it if we're going to use it. All right? We okay with that? Good. And any other items that anyone has questions on?
Our marketing and communications budget is jumping up almost 100,000. Is that what I'm seeing, or let me zoom in? Oh, never mind. No, sorry, my mistake. But are we going to look at the efficiencies in that area as well, Ann?
And through the chair, previously we had communication that was specifically PR for council, but that contract has gone and out. With regards to efficiencies, certainly we will be looking at that as well.
Okay, thank you. Dale?
So then is that part of the contracted and general services on page 16 of version 3?
Yes, it would be a part of that for sure.
Okay,
In there a little
so
bit, so.
2025, we were 6.812,990. 2026 budget is proposing 8,640,
Yeah.
946.
Yeah, and that's contracted services the whole throughout the whole municipality on this page. This isn't just marketing, right?
Through the chair to Deputy Reeve Johnson, I would, we have an in-house communication person, just to speak about communications. We also do have a contracted service that we monitor because the one person could not manage all of our websites and whatnot. So that's why there's two different pieces to the communication.
Trista.
Trista?
Yeah, just to the point of the comment about the cancellation of the one communications contract. So on page 26, under contracted services, that's specific to the marketing and communications budget. And so you'll see a reduction. The 2025 budget was 129,980. The 2026 is down to 51,000. So that shows that removal.
I have a question on the GIS services or systems. It's gone from 208 to 312. Can someone explain that to me?
Aerial photos. We have $50,000 in there for aerial photos to update.
Yeah, it went up 100,000 though. Because it was 208, and then it's going to 312.
Page 55.
Overall operating budget summary by function.
Yeah, can you go page 55, please, Jenny?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, because I'm showing
No,
an
that's-
increase of about $29,000 overall on the budget, I guess, or 25,000 overall.
Okay, that's not what I'm seeing. I saw actual in 2025 was 208, I believe. 440, and then for the budget in 2026, you're showing 312, 194.
Oh, I see, you're looking at the actual to what the budget was.
Yes.
2025 isn't complete yet. There are some projects that in there that were not completed, so I'm taking a look at that, and I'll provide that report to council between 25 and 2026. But we'll look into this a little bit more for you for sure.
Okay, I just see a huge discrepancy there, that's all. That-
Yeah, it is
A
quite
number like that
significant.
makes me think.
It's definitely a significant difference between what came in actually and then what we have in the budget for sure.
Okay. Further questions? All right, anything else, Terry, Carla?
I do want to talk about debt for a little while if you want to talk about that. So we can go to page 72. So yeah, just kind of want to go through a little bit of the debt in here. What are, as per our 2024 financial statement, was $47 million. Current debt is $8 million. That's using 17% of that debt. Realizing the 1.1 million of that is 100% paid by the Laxton Foundation. And then our remaining debt is 38 million. Debt servicing, kind of the same thing. We're at 7.8 million we can use to service our debts, so that's by paying our principal and interest payments back. Current servicing is 1.6. $277,000 of that is paid by the 100% paid by Lifetime Foundation, so leaving remaining debt servicing of $6.3 million. So the county does have some upcoming debt that will be paid off in 2026, $321,000, 2027, $108,000, and 2028, $81,000. So we didn't have any of the 2026 proposed debt in here because council was still we're still under deliberations on that thing. So we're in pretty good shape, for sure, for debt. One thing, like I said, that's one policy I do want to bring back to council before I leave, so council can review that debt limit. Right now, we have a percentage in there that I believe is a little high for what debt is. I think I'm going to recommend that the maximum debt that we're going to borrow from what we're allowable to do would be probably maybe around 40-50%. Right now, it's seen at 70, which would be absolutely a horrible thing for the municipality to get. Right? We put ourselves in a situation like, sadly, the town of Gibson's situation. If you ever looked at their financial statement, they're maxed out. We don't ever want to put ourselves in that position. So we actually are in pretty good shape for debt and debt repayment at this point in time. So I just want to bring that up and take a look at that. Do you have any questions about that at all?
Paul?
So I'm looking at the unrestricted and restricted reserves, 2024, 25, and 26. And those are the actual amounts that were in the reserves at that time. Is that correct?
Sorry, what page are you on?
Same page you were just on,
Oh,
page
sorry,
72.
up at the top. My apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's actually what's in reserves.
Yes.
Those numbers.
Yep.
Thank you.
And reserves, we have actual money in the bank? Or are they
Yes,
just
so
on paper?
I will explain that a little bit. We have, a lot of our dollars are sitting in special accounts. I do have some sitting in the general account. It just helps with our cash flow situation as well too. We definitely have enough dollars to move that all into specific bank accounts, which is probably what Tara's gonna work on to make sure that's done. We do have quite a bit of dollars sitting in separate accounts right now, but we could definitely, there's some reserves that are sitting in our general account that can be moved over to separate accounts, so. We definitely have the dollars, so.
Okay, I think that's a critical question because, as I understand, sometimes some municipalities have not had that, the actual dollars, and then the big surprise comes. So that's critical.
Yeah, no, the plan is to move that all over,
Yeah.
so, in there, so.
Okay, good. Well, that's, I mean, I'm in favor of using it to lower short-term borrowings, but we have to know we have that money. All right.
Well, that just goes back to my comment several meetings ago, talking that we really need to understand the balance sheet as well.
Yeah.
Because that confirms what's there, and once we see that, and I know we're working towards that, so it's definitely.
Thank you. Through the chair, Carla and I have had a few discussions on this too, and that's why we want to bring back the reserve policy, but also a presentation to council and the public so they can understand every reserve we have, how does it work, how does it function, but then we can look at the reserve policy. To your point, is the money there? How can we use it? And also to make sure the parameters are in place so that nothing is taken out unless it's got council approval, and also look at the debt limit too as well.
Good, thank you. Yeah. I did, as you're going through this, I did have one more question on the medical clinic. And this is outside of the budget a little bit, but we were told at our meeting in Alberta Beach that we've never had a meeting of the board of that in all the years it's been operating, and we've never asked the other municipalities to contribute to the losses. So I know that isn't part of the budget, or I guess it is maybe in a little ways. Have we looked into that? And I would really encourage strongly that we get a letter out and asking for 2025 that our losses be shared amongst the other partners.
I know in the beginning when the Onaway Medical Clinic was formed, there was contributions made by Lac-Saint County and several other municipalities. So, and I do know there was only that one time it happened, and then after that, there was enough to kind of look after it, and then it ended up running deficit, and it just we never went back, so.
Well, I would like to see it in the budget where we actually, that is part of our income, that we share in those deficits. Council agree with me or no?
I would agree.
I'd agree. We're gonna be having a board meeting here hopefully soon to discuss a lot of these things. And maybe it can be one of our agreements with the other municipalities that we put forward.
Okay, but if we're in agreement with that, I just feel that, I mean, they told us that we've never been asked. We were willing to contribute, but we were never asked. So we better start asking.
I really, through the chair, I really do think we need clarity on the agreement, on the funding, on the intention, and what's actually happened. Because I think at that regional meeting, we also heard that we were invoicing, but then we were covering. So we really need clarity on all of that.
Okay, good, thank you. Nobody really knows. All right, anything further? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'd like to know more about the vehicle purchases, because it was just a general line, I think it was like 3.7 or 4.7 million. I don't know where it was, I saw it somewhere.
Under the capital budget?
Some version, you find it.
Oh, I didn't bring a new version of it, the capital, but we're gonna bring a breakdown on the future capital vehicle purchases, like I said, but we have to be careful with that because that's something that's gonna be reviewed in the asset management plan as well too, right? So I could give you that, but it's gonna change and we might kill another tree and I don't wanna do that for you.
No, I understand. If we're gonna review it in the capital plan, that's fine. I saw a large number there and I was like, okay, I'd like to have a closer look at it.
Thank you. Through the chair, just for us and for staff is, what would you like the next steps to be? If you guys can give us some direction for the next step. We do have a budget meeting scheduled, I believe, March 20th? Yes, so if you can give us some clarity before then, that would be really helpful.
Well, I'm not going to answer for council, but I'll throw it out to you. I think first of all, we need to have our meeting with the auditors and see if we get any guidance from them at all. And I think after that we can, that you take what you heard today and implement that, and then we will be able to then make a decision as to how to go forward. But I would say, we've done a pretty thorough job today, and if you implement that and bring that back to us, we'll be able to give you a pretty good indication of if we need more changes or not. Does that seem reasonable? Barry?
Do you think we should be looking at the capital asset plan as well before the 20th, just to go through the vehicles and all the other little things we found?
Certainly we can, but we can do that. Perhaps we can add it to the March 12th meeting. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, if there's time for it, I just like to dive into some more of these line items
Okay.
to really get into them and dig into the nitty gritty
What
on
do you
some of
think?
the stuff.
What exactly are you looking for?
The vehicles was one of them. The maintenance side of the public works, I'd like to know more about how they're
On the
spending.
capital side or,
I don't know, whatever you want to put it
oh,
under.
on operating side?
Operating.
Oh.
Operationally stuff.
Perhaps you and I can talk after offline, and then it'll be something we can share with the rest of council.
Okay, that'd be great.
Just a suggestion, maybe on this budget here, it is page 15, but if we could get an updated page 15 with the changes that we just recommended today, I think that would save a few trees if we just printed that up for us so we can get a head start.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Bo, that probably that more general one, that we don't have to go through every line. Yeah, yeah.
And we could do that one and just the by category too, because I like the by category one. It paints a different picture of
Okay.
things. So
All right. Okay.
Kill them trees.
Anything further? If not, Ann, did you have any more? I see you're on the agenda.
Where am I? Oh,
6A.
county manager. Oh, God. Let's go for lunch.
Yeah.
No, I just want to say thanks because staff has, Terry and Carla especially, but we've been budget every morning and every day, and I appreciate it. And all the work that council's done on the other end, because we know we're giving you a lot of information, so. But I do love the discussions here. They're high level, they're strategic, and that's what we should be doing, so I'm very happy.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I will reiterate that as well. Thank you, Carla and Terry. I know it's a big job, and I know with all our questions, it's probably bigger than it's been in other years. But I do think it's really important, and I thank you for your indulgence in our questions, and there will be more. Okay? All right? Are we ready to adjourn? Meeting's adjourned.